Tastes like scotch. I'm kidding, but seriously. Today is Monday, January 19th. Nope, 18th. I mess up every single time, don't I? Every single time I mess it up. Today is the 18th. You'd expect a goofy intro today because I'm off for the whole day, but seeing as it's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, I will refrain and again just implore everybody who watches this channel understand that Anne Frank and MLK Jr. were born the exact same year, and if they were alive today, they'd be 92. So history is not that long ago. These events are not that long ago, and given this week's inauguration, I'm in Atlanta, and my school actually said no kids in person. Things can get pretty crazy, and I implore everyone to please stay safe this week. Please make good decisions. You can have whatever political bias you want to have. That's totally cool with me. We come to this channel to learn and to make money. But again, please do smart things and don't do dumb things. You can believe what you want to believe, support what you want to support, but violence and that kind of nonsense will not be tolerated on this channel or even advocated for on this channel. From either side, no violence. It's not what we do. With that being said, this channel is for beginners looking to get into this technical analysis and learn some new things. This is for intermediate traders who have a lot of great skills and some great stocks, but want to get better at technical analysis and get some really good mid-cap stocks. The goal from now on is 25 minutes. If we can have intro, the whole stock show being 25 minutes, that's the goal. We're about to get in the list. First, we're going to cover the journal, just check it over, and then we're going to get into it. Let's get it. So as you can see to my right and then to your left is our list today. Every one of these stocks that's green I've sold out of. Every yellow one I have not sold out of. So, Ally is a pharmaceutical play, still running. Netflix and Tesla I'm still holding. And then you come down here, BBY still looks pretty good. JCI, ROK actually had a breakout. I sold out, but I need to update that. Lava I sold out of. UMPQ looks good. CLTL looks good. NIL is still running. So the lower you get, the more I'm holding these, for sure, because they're a little bit newer, obviously. So everything looks pretty good here. We have some really good plays. I need to set up a few more and put in today's, but again, yesterday or Friday was a pretty big red sell-off day, so I didn't add anything that day, and so we're still waiting on those to kind of come through. With no further ado, let's get in this watch list. So today, you can look above me, we have 7 in-depth stocks we're going to cover right here on our poop list, because I always forget what it's called, so poop it is. And I have 13 other stocks that we're going to cover briefly. So 7 A1 really great setups, and then 13 good ones that you should watch. But if you don't have the ability to watch 20 stocks in one day or really do this yourself, focus on these 7 and you'll be okay. So our first stock of the day is ATNX, FNTX Inc. Real simple channel play for almost 7 months now. It's just been going in this channel up and down, up and down, up and down. And every single time it's coming into the bottom white line, it's made money. It's certainly there again right now. It could definitely drop lower, but the thing is you need to think about directional channel play. It's already come all the way down, as you can see, right? It's come all the way down, and now history tells us it consolidates for a minute. You see how it's consolidating over here, consolidating over here? Let's start consolidating as well. So now that's popped up a little bit, as you can see that those 3 red bars in a row, it's popped up and now it's kind of pulling back. It does that, right? It goes up, it pulls back. It goes up, it pulls back. It goes up, it pulls back. So a healthy pullback is nothing to be afraid about. Just wait for it to show some life. Will it come back down to this area? I doubt it. I mean, over here it did that a few times. I think it's going to come back down to the white line where it is. If Monday's a strong day and it goes green, I would definitely buy in. If it's red, just wait. But again, you're looking at easily 10%, right about here, 8-9%, probably closer to 10. If it does a full move, we're talking almost 30. So it's a great setup, great risk versus reward. If you buff up your entry, you may be waiting a little bit longer to kind of take profits, as it may dip down. You'll probably hold anywhere in this area and then come back up and make some money. But ATNX is a great setup. Let's check our indicators. So what's cool about the indicators is I wait to do them with you. So I actually haven't looked at these, and then this gives you a live look of how I look through indicators, and I think it's a great practice tool for you. Again, the orange vertical lines is where we bought before, so that's what those are. So we see that it respects a 200 EMA line, especially recently. See how it bounces off of it right here, right there, right there, right there. That's why it died. So that's going to be a real cue to go long, because when you break both of them, you get massive gains. See how when you break both lines, you had just huge run-ups. Broke both, huge run-ups. So if you're adverse to risk and like to wait, that's what you're going to do. Wait for the 50 to be broken, the 200 to be broken, and then go long. But it respects both of them. Both will be resistance moving forward. It's at a fair RSI. That makes sense given the price action over here. It's been kind of slowly dipping down and kind of consolidating. And now it's in the middle. That makes sense because it's kind of in the middle of this whole channel area. Stochastic is getting low. That's good because it's getting low above where it just was, which could lead for a divergence if it goes down any farther. But again, it looks pretty good. And Vortex hasn't yet crossed over, so we have plenty of room to run up. It does do reversals where it just tapped down at, and so that's a good sign for it possibly reversing here. So the indicators are all right, but again, the price action is really, really good. But ATNX is a great setup. Next is BTG. The thing with BTG is that it's a great sign of what stocks can do. Ascend, consolidate, descend. You see some consolidation here. You see some ascension, some consolidation, some descension, consolidation, descension. So given that, we know that stocks can do those three things, and it just descended. My guess it's now going to consolidate or ascend. I can see maybe descending maybe another 4 or 5% at most. If it does hit around the 485 area, you buy in instantly. That's your best bet. You buy in there, you're gonna make some money for sure. But it can consolidate anywhere in this area, so it can make money anywhere in this area. But once it kind of bottoms out, you can easily make 10% on this play, and it's very quick. I mean, these are very quick movements up and down. And then if you can buy in here, then you actually get it in on an ascension, you can hold for quite a long time and make a lot of good gains. So BTG's price action is fantastic. We played it before. We broke even here. We're like, oh, we're making some money. And then it gapped, so we knew it was going to come down. We actually, held through this, made some money. Then we bought over here, broke even. So we haven't yet made money on BTG really, but the setup over here is too good to be true. So let's see if it drops down on Monday. If it drops down any more, better deal for us. If it shows some life on Monday, I would definitely go, or Tuesday, I would definitely go long. Let's check the indicators. RSIs, but I see first because I see a lot of blue. Every time you've been oversold, have you made money? Technically, you would have until this big sell-off. And over here, you would have lost too. So I guess historically you have, but you do eventually make money with RSI, so I guess it looks okay. It tried to break the 200 here and died. So again, it needs to break both of them. When it breaks the 50, that's when you get your big moves up. So it needs to break the 50 and hold it. So you want to see it break it, tap it, and take off. So these are going to be resistances moving forward, so you got to be careful of that. The Stochastic is getting lower. If it gets any lower, that'd be good for reversal. And where the Vortex just was where reversals happen. So hopefully on Monday we see, either two things. We see a really big green day that shows us some life, or it drops off even more to the 4.8 area, and that's where I would definitely buy in for sure. But the price action alone, BTG is a great setup. Next is FSLR. What a great channel here. It's beautiful. The reason you can tell it's a really good channel is if you take your trend lines like this and you line them all up, kind of like right like that at the bottom. Then you create a channel with it. If the tops do kind of line up really well like that, see how these tops really line up really well? That's a great sign of a really good channel when they match up perfectly. And again, these two work fine too. So it could be whatever you think it is, it's fine. This is a support area, definitely. This was a resistance area, a little bit above it, but again, I would consider this to be more strong resistance that was broken, and you could see because of this line right here. See how strong this is, and right there. So the price action is moving right into a support area that's also the trend line, which is one of my favorite setups. If it does break the channel, you have a high probability of this becoming the bottom of a channel, and this is then going to be your channel play off of. You'll be able to make easily 15-20% every time it bounces. So it's a great backup plan for this one. First Solar Energy needs to be on your watch list. It's a great setup. Channel up, support area. It looks really good. Let's see if some EMA lines are in play as well. Let's check the indicators. Oh, it's like I've been doing this for a long time. Yep, 200 EMA is going to be your play. If it comes in the 200, for sure bounce off of that. All three are in line together. And I guess one technically could say the trend line at the bottom shouldn't even exist. It should just be the top one as a resistance because the 200 is so powerful. So that's your stop loss area. If it breaks that and holds it, sell it and rebuy in when it shows life. RSI is almost oversold. Stock's low. Vortex is low. It's a perfect setup. If you like channel up plays, FSLR is the perfect setup. Oh, it's fantastic. I guess some of you did not get the memo about KPTI. I called it on Wednesday. I said don't jinx it, and it went up. And I guess some of y'all decided you want to jinx it. It's back down in here. The good news is it's showing higher lows still. That's what you want with these kind of plays. But again, it's just such a good channel. I mean, like, it's showing higher lows. It hits the resistance multiple times. I mean, like, it looks like a heartbeat. You know, beep, beep, beep. And you can't beat that. It's fantastic. So if it does drop more, I wouldn't be scared. If it breaks 1460, I would wait, because that means we're kind of looking at a channel play more than we are in a setting triangle or a channel up kind of play. So if it does break that, I would wait a little bit, because you want to give up a few pennies for it to show life. That's a smart idea with this kind of play. It's a great setup at just going up. I mean, anyone who's watched my channel can see that this is just, it's the volatility you want. It goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up. It's a perfect setup. Let's check the indicators. So it definitely respects the 200 for sure, and then of course it bounces off the 50. So it's going to be your sign to really go long. Is when it breaks both of them, you get these gigantic spikes. You see how we called it over here. I have to update my stuff still. I called it over here. It broke the 200, then broke the 50, and ran up another, 12%, which is a huge gain. So if you're adverse to risk, that'll be your sign to go long where it breaks both of those. But again, you can't get faked out. So don't be surprised that does happen. RSI is low. That's great. And again, it doesn't get oversold. It gets to 35 and reverses. So 35 is impending. We want to see that happen. Stock is low. It could get a little bit lower. And Vortex is low. It could get a tad bit lower. So it's a great setup. We're waiting for Tuesday. We want to see if it's going to be a green day and pushes things up, or it's going to be a red day and push things down. Well, mainly a red morning or a green morning, because as I always talk about, the day doesn't have one color. It's a lot of different chapters to a book. So if it's a red opening, wait. If it's a green opening, go long. But KPTI is a great setup. Next is VRSN, VEEV company. I called it over here. You would have made 3%, and then you would have had to break even over here, which is cool. That's fine. It broke down farther. So the reason I'm bringing it to your attention is that it's had it's a channel. It has a tendency to hit this area of 220. It has a tendency to get down to about 195. So every time you invest in this stock, hopefully make it about $25 return. Could it get lower? Yeah, I guess it could plummet farther. And this is definitely a not catching a falling knife kind of situation, but it's definitely like, where is it getting reversed at? Because it gaps. It gaps intensely whenever it does go up, so you don't want to miss that. And then you will miss it if you don't. You're just too risk adverse. Now again, this is a 3.4 or 3% away, so you could invest now. And if you lose 3% of profit, if it does dip down here in reverse, and you have to wait about a week of holding, that's on you. But again, if you want to wait for some life, this is the place that's going to probably do it. The last 2 times it's hit here, it's definitely reversed. It's slowly starting to turn around. And again, gaps like to be filled. So every time you look over here, if you pause the video, every single solitary gap was filled. It doesn't matter where it was. Every single one of these got filled by price action. It doesn't matter where it is. Like, you think it's an accident that this gap right here was filled by this right here, how it popped up, and then over here it came on just perfectly enough to tap that wick down in reverse? No. And as you can see, we have a gap waiting to be filled. So I'd say worst case scenario right here, you're going to see at least 5% return, which is great. And again, more expensive of a stock, but it's a great channel. Let's check the indicators. So again, it respects the 200 quite a lot. The 50s here and there. I mean, it bounces off at occasion, but at times it doesn't really care at all. So the 200 is going to be your big showing of strength when it breaks that. RSI is a bit oversold, and again, when it gets oversold, it goes overbought. Oversold, overbought, oversold, overbought. So it'll eventually go overbought given that scenario. Let's see if it does it. The stochastic is reversing, and it does reverse around this area, as you can see, but I think it could get a little bit lower, but it just was really, really low. So again, I think it may just be taking its time. And then Vortex couldn't get much lower before, and it's still pretty low. So all signs point to reversal eventually. I think this is going to be your hallmark area, your strong support that it may do it at. So VRSN is a great setup. Next is WDAY, and I'm sure my cats are about to fight and make noise. That's okay though. Again, a more expensive of a stock, but I call winners, and they cost more. You just buy less shares and you have less volatility. You will be okay. It's such a beautiful channel up. It's so beautiful. It just keeps going up and up and up. And again, we would have bought in here, you would have made about 4 or 5%, and then you would have probably broken even if you follow most rules. So again, it's down here again, and it seems to be holding. Now, if it does break it a tad bit, I'm not going to be that concerned. But again, I want to see it show some life. And again, if it does break here, you can expect just to have 215 by your next loading zone, your next buying zone. So that's not very far away at all. You'd be losing maybe 2%. You'd probably lose on profit as it kind of shows some life. But again, historically higher lows across the board every single time. That's very bullish, and it shows life. And again, it's going up. It wants to break above this 250 line. It wants to push the volume even higher, which I like. And let me show you the power of volume profile as we go through this real quick. So real quick, if we go to quick studies, anyone who does this knows how hard that is. You can see where the volume profile used to be. You see where it is now? Yada-da-da. Up here. Right, given that shows you how strong this has been. Right, before the volume profile line was below this line. It was down here 180. Now it's up to 225. Right, that shows the median volume has moved up. That's a very good sign of strength, and it should continue doing this. Right, worst case is that this drops down to 180. I don't think it's gonna happen, or maybe even like 195. Right, you'd be stopped out. It crashes down. It makes a new channel. You play off of that. So that's the worst case, but the volume profile line moving up is a huge deal. Let's check the indicators. So it's bouncing off the 200. That makes a lot of sense, but again, it's like a trampoline. See how hard and intense this came into it, and it bounced off it. Yeah, huge intense, bounced off it. Not as intense, rounded off of it, right? So the reversals seem to either be spiky, like really spiky, or they seem to be pretty rounded. I think rounded is kind of what we're going for here. So I think it may show some green, then they come back around. RSI is at a fair price. You want to see it maybe a little bit lower, but the stochastic is super low, which is really good. And the Vortex just turned red. So I think it has some good room to run. I think just the setup is perfect. And again, maybe it finally breaks this uptrend and becomes maybe like a channel play. But again, WDAY is a fantastic setup. Last for our in-depth ones is YEXT, YEXT Inc. A great channel. It's beautiful. And we called it over here. I said, this is where it reverses at, you guys. Look at this. And of course it went, oh, you like some money? Here's 16%. And it's like, thank you. I would have called it over here, but I don't consider two lines to be a trend. Any idiot can connect two lines and say, oh, it's this. But that's not how it works. Now it's coming back down into this area again. If it lives here, fantastic sign. It's a great channel area. This is where it shows a lot of support. If you look back historically, it comes down and tests it. And again, it may not test it on this move and live that well, but again, you're at the top moving down. Put that in context. From here and up, you're moving up, right? From here down, would not have a save. On that, would not do that. But on the way up, it may, right? So you gotta put that in context. If you hit the top of your channel and you come down, it has different tendencies than if you hit the bottom and go back up, right? So it seems to be going back up. When it goes up, it tests a lot of supports on the way up there, and they usually seem to live. Even over here, see how it was going up? Tested this area and lived. Well, here we are again. So I think it's going to be a really good buy, good setup. If it does break, you just wait, and you can see, oh, a little baby green one, 400. Someone has faith. So it looks really, really good. Easily 7%, and if it does do that, you're making an ascending triangle right here, and that's a great setup for a breakout. It looks really, really good. Let's check the indicators. So it was trying to break the 200, and it just did. If it does break green tomorrow, it should have a chance of holding above the 200 and the 50. That's when you get some really big moves. But again, you see how you got faked out over here? That's not always the best strategy. It's a good one. It's a good principle. See how I broke above both of them, and then it's like, I'm showing life, retesting, and it crashed. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does fake out 1 or 2 more times. It seems to do that. You've had 3 or 4 solid run-ups when it breaks above both of them, so keep that in mind. It needs to do that to really have life. RSI does reverse around this area of 50 or 37. It's at 41, so it may show off a little bit more, may kind of sell for a tiny bit more. Stochastic is low, could be a tad lower. Vortex is low, could be a tad lower. So if Tuesday's a red morning, don't be surprised if it kind of takes a second to reverse. I'd also wouldn't be shocked if this wicks down and then comes back up and takes off. So let's give it some time, but YEXT is a fantastic setup. At this point, I have 13 more for you. We're going to rapid fire through these, show you guys some other great setups, and then we're going to end this video. Let's check them out. So I'm just going to have the indicators on for all of these. That's fine. AEYE we called before. We called it, we missed, we called it again, made a huge hit. It tapped up, we sold it. I said 50 EMA bounce, and it took off. Right now we're showing a descending triangle basically, but one could also argue it's a horizontal triangle. If you kind of line all these up, right, it's showing some of that. That's kind of a stretch, but again, it's holding at the 50 and a support area. It is showing lower highs, so I'd be a little bit cautious about that, as you can see. But again, the 200 EMA line on the 1 hour chart lines up perfectly. Again, I don't really care. It lines up also fine with the 50 and the 180. Not an accident. RSI is fair, but it's ascending. That makes sense. The Stoch is fair. Vortex is consolidating. So it's consolidating for a big move. AEYE, again, just because it's a descending triangle, I don't love it, but it's a great setup. AKTS, we played it plenty over here, and then it said see ya and took off on us. So it's riding the 50 beautifully, as you can see, and it broke above this resistance, and now it's showing some life again. So if we do this, that's fine. So it broke above it. See how it's riding the 50, broke above the resistance, and now it's retesting it. If it's going to show some more life, this is where it's going to be at. Really easy risk management policy here. You could easily say if it breaks the 50, you sell it. That's only 3% away. It's at a support, EMA line, an uptrend. The reason it's not a better play is that it's so overextended. I don't know if it's going to drop here or not, but it's a good setup. You know, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. AKTS, it's a good setup. AXU, we played it plenty over here. We were like, oh, it's good here, broke even. Oh, it's good here, broke even. Oh, it's good over here, broke even. And then eventually it took off. So that was pretty chill. It's a great channel play. I would not be surprised if it drops down farther. That's the only reason it's not a really good one, is I just broke the 200 EMA line and it looks like it's showing some life here. But again, that's 1600 volume. I'm not putting any weight into that. So just watch it for Tuesday. If it shows some red and drops down to maybe like 231, you buy it for sure. If it shows some life here, you also could buy it. But again, just given the lower lows before, I'm a little bit cautious. But AXU is a good setup. C is very similar to AKTS. You know, it just took off really, really well, and it's riding the 50. Now again, it does break it occasionally, which it just did, and it hits this golden line. So will it come down farther and tap that and keep going? I don't know. That's the problem. This is definitely a support area right beneath it, which should give you a good area for your stop loss. But again, it's overbought. Maybe it keeps running up another few times, but again, how many stocks do you see with 6-7 months of just straight shooting up? Not many. So I don't think it has that possibility for a dead cat bounce here and gonna keep going. Possibly. So C is a good setup. If you like it a lot, go for it. CP is actually a really good setup. I'm just nervous about where it's going to reverse at. As you can see, it has this white line I put in the middle of it. And will it reverse here or reverse at the yellow line, which is more recent? I don't know. Also, it's at the 50 EMA bounce, so CP looks really, really good. Again, the only problem is the possible profit's 5%, maybe 6%. RSI is in the middle. Stock is kind of turning. Vortex is okay. So it's a lower profit margin. Not many stocks run up like this, and it's $350. So it's a good setup, but for the people who watch this video, $350 is kind of too high. So I thought it's okay. Next is EDU. EDU would be a 10 out of 10 if it was a little bit lower. So I put these white lines as a channel to buy, and the yellow lines, it's like the actual channel. So it's getting in that buying zone of where I wanted to be, but again, it's not there. It's showing some life early. So it may show some life and keep going. If that's the case, 10 out of 10. If this is the most borderline of the should be on the big list, it's this one. So RSI looks good. Stock looks good. Vortex is consolidating. It just needs to get down the 200 EMA line to be a 10 out of 10. So put on your list. Maybe it drops down to that. But again, it's showing some life right here. You know, it's showing almost like a perfect triangle right here, as you can see. So EDU is a really, really good setup, but again, it's not quite to the price range I wanted at. If it drops on Tuesday to like 166, throw the bank at it. It'll be a great setup then. Next is FIVN. It looks really good. Channel up, you know, it's looking pretty good, but it's bouncing up to 50, but it's slowing down. All right, it's showing a triangle pretty well. If I can click pretty well here, right? And again, the only thing is that it's kind of overbought, so it's definitely getting higher, and it's pretty far away from your supposed next stop loss. I mean, it would drop down maybe 4 or 5%. So it looks okay. It's a little bit overdone, but for channel up, it looks pretty good. If you like channel ups and you can afford it, it's a great setup. But again, a little expensive, a little overdone. The triangle looks like it may drop off like we did over here. See how it kind of shows similarities. We'll see, but it's just a good setup. MSON, MSON Inc. And again, a fantastic channel, but again, is it near where I want it to be? No. If this were to hit 1153, that's when you throw the bank at it. Even lower, if you can get down 1104, that's where you want to be at. And again, it's in the middle. It's showing some life, and it did gap, as you can see. I would assume it may just do one of these and go up 4% and then die down. So MSON is a great setup for when it's at $11, but it's not quite there yet. Give it some time, but it's a good setup. MTNB we've called plenty of times back historically, and then it took off without us. We miss it, but we're going to try and buy into it. 50 may bounce, simple play, right? And now it's showing in a setting triangle, as you can see, and I can zoom in if you want me to, you know, showing a setting triangle, but again, it's $1. It's very volatile. This thing can make or break all your money in one day. So I'd be a little bit cautious of that. And again, it is pretty far overdone here. It was in the dollar range, and now it's in the $1.64 range. But again, if it were to kind of consolidate for a little bit longer and the 50 were to come up higher, it may be a really good setup. But again, it's just okay for now. SDC is a great setup for when it's in the golden channel. It does have a history of bouncing off this dotted line that I placed. It does like to kind of bounce off of it, but that's kind of in line with the 200 EMA line, as you can see. So it broke that, so will it bounce back tomorrow? Maybe. And you need to put on your watch list for that reason, that it may bounce here. But again, the best setup is when it's in the golden channel. So it's SDC is a good setup. It has, you know, good RSI, good stock, good Vortex, right? It's all looking good. But again, the price action tells me a little bit lower is a perfect setup. Otherwise, this is just a good one. It's a good bet. I like it a lot. Searching for things unspoken. Next is TTMI. It's a very simple play. It just bounced out the 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, 50, all the way up. And it's at a support area here. Will it live? I'm not sure, but again, it could. The problem is that the profit margin's pretty low, and this will not last forever. So again, I think it has a good chance to keep running it for a little bit longer. You may make 4, 5, 6% over a good amount of time, and again, you have a really good indication when it breaks and holds beneath the 50. So easy setup, just not that much profit. It looks pretty good. I like VEEV a lot. It's definitely a good channel, as you can see, but again, you want to see it get down to about 255. Right now it's in the middle, and so it could bounce here, and you could make an easy 7 or 8% with a good bounce. But again, it needs to be down at least this support area at 264, or even better, 255. So it's almost there. It's a great setup. You should put on your watch list, but again, it's just not there yet. And then VMW, we called it the other week, and then it popped up about 3%, and now it dropped down a little bit. This is definitely an area to buy into. The problem is, when's it going to reverse? We already called it once before. It does take some time to consolidate. And again, it did sell off massively because there's a new CEO. And so is that really going to affect it that much? I don't think so. But again, it's just a massive sell-off. We already called it. I just want to say again, it's still a good play for the future. So there you have it, our 7 plays for tomorrow. These will be good all week, and then the next week you have 13 extra plays if you like those as well. Those are good setups. I think those are also fantastic. I'm not going to be shocked if one of the good setups really outdoes every one of the great setups. But again, those are a lot more risky in my opinion. Farther stop losses, inconsistent, patterns will not last forever. So eventually those are going to break. So they're good setups and there's great setups. I like the ones that I posted about. The 7 are really, really good. The other 13 are also fantastic. They're just not as good. With that being said, have a good Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Have a good week. We'll see you guys tomorrow in the office. With that being said, we'll see you guys next time.